Hello friends, and welcome to Sleepy Brain Science. Imagine waking up before dawn, the sky still dark, but something is changing. High above, invisible to your sleepy eyes, water vapor is beginning its ancient dance. This is where our story begins, not on the ground, but 30,000 feet above, where the air is thin and cold. Every cloud you've ever seen started as something invisible. Water molecules so tiny that billions could fit on the head of a pin, floating freely in the atmosphere. They're waiting for the sun to rise and warm the earth below. As the first rays of sunlight touch the ground, something magical happens. The earth exhales. Warmth rises from fields, lakes, and forests. This warm air carries our invisible water molecules upward, like passengers on an elevator they cannot see. And so begins the journey that will paint the sky. By mid-morning, small white puffs appear. These are cumulus, the humble clouds. They look like cotton balls scattered across a blue canvas. Children call them popcorn clouds. These little clouds form when warm air rises just high enough to cool down. At a certain height, usually around 6,000 feet, the invisible water vapor can no longer stay invisible. It condenses onto tiny particles of dust, salt from the ocean, or even pollen from flowers far below. Each cloud droplet is so small you'd need a microscope to see it, but billions together create these gentle, puffy shapes that drift lazily across the morning sky. These clouds have flat bottoms, perfectly flat like tables in the sky. This isn't random. That flat base marks exactly the altitude where air becomes cool enough for water to condense. Below that line, water is invisible. Above it, clouds appear. Watch them drift. They're peaceful, harmless, beautiful. They'll likely dissolve by evening as the air mixes and dries. For now, they're simply there, floating, breathing with the atmosphere. As the sun climbs higher, some of those small morning clouds begin to grow. They're fed by stronger updrafts, currents of warm air rushing upward like invisible rivers in the sky. These clouds billow and tower, growing taller by the minute. We call them cumulus congestus, the heaped clouds. They look like cauliflower heads or white mountains floating in blue space. Inside these clouds, an invisible battle is happening. Warm air pushes upward. Cool air sinks downward. Water droplets collide, merge, and grow larger. Some freeze into tiny ice crystals, even on a summer day, because the top of the cloud might be 20,000 feet high, where temperatures drop below freezing. But these clouds are still friendly. They're growing, yes, but they haven't decided to become storms. They're just bigger, more ambitious, reaching toward the upper atmosphere with cautious optimism. From the ground, you might feel a brief shadow as one passes overhead. The temperature drops a degree or two. Then sunshine returns. These clouds are experimenting with their power, but not yet unleashing it. Now let your eyes travel much higher, to the very edge of the troposphere where commercial jets fly. Here, 30,000 to 40,000 feet above the Earth, the air is incredibly cold, 50, 60 degrees below zero. This is the realm of cirrus clouds, delicate, wispy, made entirely of ice crystals. They look like brushstrokes painted across the sky by an invisible artist. Feathers, mare's tails, delicate threads of white against deep blue. These clouds move in the jet stream, rivers of fast-moving air that circle the planet. From the ground, they seem to barely drift, but they're actually racing at 100, sometimes 200 miles per hour. Cirrus clouds are messengers. They often arrive a day or two before a storm system, sliding in from the west like quiet warnings. Ancient sailors learned to read them. Mare's tails and mackerel scales make tall ships carry low sails, they'd say, knowing weather was changing. But right now, in this moment, they're simply beautiful. Ice crystals catching sunlight, creating halos and sundogs, those mysterious bright spots that appear on either side of the sun. Nature's prisms, bending light into gentle magic. Sometimes the sky disappears entirely. You wake up and the world is gray, not dark, just muted, soft, quiet. This is stratus. The Latin word means layer, and that's exactly what these clouds do. They form a blanket across the sky, sometimes so low you can almost touch them. When stratus touches the ground, we call it fog. These clouds form differently than the puffy cumulus. Instead of air rising rapidly, stratus forms when moist air slowly lifts over a large area, or when warm air slides gently over cooler air near the ground. There's something deeply calming about a stratus day. The light is diffused, soft, shadowless. Sounds seem muffled. The world feels smaller, more intimate. Artists call it the perfect light because it's even and gentle. Stratus rarely produces rain, maybe a light drizzle, a mist. It's not dramatic. It's the introvert of clouds, content to simply exist, covering the sky like a soft gray quilt. Many people find these days melancholic, but there's peace in them too, a permission to move slowly, to be quiet, to rest. When stratus thickens and darkens, when it decides to take itself seriously, it becomes nimbostratus. The nimbus means rain-bearing. These are the clouds of all-day rain, steady, patient, persistent. The sky becomes dark gray, sometimes almost charcoal. The cloud layer might be 10,000 feet thick, so dense that sunlight can barely penetrate. This is the rain that taps gently on your window for hours, not the dramatic downpour of a thunderstorm, but the steady, soaking rain that farmers love, the kind that seeps deep into the soil, fills reservoirs and nourishes forests. Inside a nimbostratus cloud, millions of water droplets and ice crystals are colliding, merging, growing heavy. When they become too heavy to float, they fall. Some melt as they descend through warmer air. By the time they reach you, they're raindrops, cool, clean, essential. There's a Norwegian word, kuslig, that doesn't translate perfectly to English. It means a cozy, intimate warmth in the face of cold, rainy weather. Nimbostratus clouds create kuslig days, days for tea, blankets, books, and gratitude for shelter. Sometimes the sky is neither completely clear nor completely overcast. Instead, it's patterned like rolling hills or ocean waves frozen in white and gray. These are stratocumulus clouds, a hybrid. They have the layered quality of stratus, but the puffiness of cumulus. They form in patches and rows, often covering most of the sky, but leaving gaps where blue peeks through. From an airplane, stratocumulus looks like a lumpy mattress stretching to the horizon. From below, it creates a dynamic sky, shadows and light constantly shifting as the clouds move and thin patches drift overhead. These clouds form in stable air with gentle mixing. They're common along coastlines where cool ocean air meets warmer land. If you live in California, the Pacific Northwest, or New England, you know these clouds well. They're the clouds of partly cloudy days, that vague weather forecast that could mean almost anything. Mostly, they mean mild weather, temperatures moderate, gentle breezes, nothing extreme, nothing dramatic, just the atmosphere in a contemplative mood, creating texture in the sky. Between the low clouds and the high cirrus, there's a middle realm. Here, at 6,000 to 20,000 feet, we find clouds with the prefix alto, meaning high. Alto stratus is a gray or blue-gray sheet that often covers the entire sky. The sun might be visible through it, but only as a dim, fuzzy disk, like looking through frosted glass. These clouds often form ahead of warm fronts, and they're excellent at predicting rain within the next 12 to 24 hours. Alto cumulus is puffier, white or gray patches or layers, often arranged in waves or rolls. These create the mackerel sky that sailors watched for. The clouds look like fish scales rippling across the atmosphere. Sometimes, on late afternoons, altocumulus clouds catch the setting sun and turn brilliant orange, pink, and gold. They are high enough to still be in direct sunlight even after the ground has fallen into shadow. This creates spectacular sunsets, the clouds becoming lanterns in the darkening sky. These middle-altitude clouds are transition zones. They tell stories of air masses meeting, of weather systems approaching, of the atmosphere reorganizing itself. They remind us that the sky has depth, has layers, has complexity we rarely notice. Near mountains, something extraordinary happens. When wind flows over a peak, it creates invisible waves in the atmosphere, like ripples in a stream flowing over a rock. At the crest of these waves, where air rises and cools, smooth lens-shaped clouds appear. We call them lenticular clouds, from the Latin for lens. They look almost artificial, perfectly smooth, sometimes stacked in layers like flying saucers. They hover in one spot, even though the wind is strong, because they're not moving with the air, they're forming and dissolving in the same place as new air flows through them. In the Sierra Nevada, the Cascades, the Rockies, anywhere with significant mountains, these clouds appear like silent sentinels. Pilots avoid them because they mark severe turbulence. Photographers chase them because they're breathtakingly beautiful. Native peoples saw these clouds as sacred. They marked where the earth touched the sky, where the physical and spiritual met. Modern UFO reports often turn out to be lenticular clouds, their smooth, unnatural appearance fooling even experienced observers. But there's nothing alien about them. They're simply wind, made visible. The atmosphere, revealing its invisible rivers.
Now
we come to the giants, the kings of clouds, cumulonimbus, the storm clouds. These begin like innocent cumulus clouds, small puffs on a summer afternoon, but given enough heat, moisture, and instability, they grow and grow and grow. A mature cumulonimbus can tower 40,000, 50,000, even 60,000 feet into the atmosphere. That's more than 10 miles tall. From base to top, the temperature inside ranges from 80 degrees Fahrenheit to -60 degrees Fahrenheit. The updrafts inside are violent, air rushing upward at 100 miles per hour. Hailstones form, fall, get caught in the updraft, rise again, collect more ice, fall again. Some hailstones ride this elevator dozens of times, growing layer by layer like onions. Lightning flashes inside, static electricity built up by ice crystals and water droplets colliding billions of times per second. Thunder follows, the sound of air exploding from the heat. These are dangerous clouds. They produce tornadoes, flash floods, damaging hail. But from a safe distance, they are magnificent. The anvil top spreading out where the cloud hits the tropopause, the ceiling of our weather. Mammatus clouds hanging below like pouches. The whole structure illuminated from within by lightning. Cumulonimbus reminds us that the atmosphere has power, that nature commands respect. Some clouds exist at the very edge of what's possible. Nacreous clouds, also called mother-of-pearl clouds, form in the stratosphere, 50,000 to 80,000 feet up. They're so rare that most people never see them. They appear only in polar regions during winter, when the stratosphere becomes cold enough for clouds to form. But when they appear, they're breathtaking. Iridescent colors, pink, green, blue, violet, shimmer across their surfaces. They are visible before sunrise or after sunset when they catch light from below the horizon. Even rarer are noctilucent clouds, night-shining clouds. These form at the very edge of space, 50 miles up in the mesosphere. They're made of ice crystals so small they're almost unreal, and they're only visible during summer twilight at high latitudes. Scientists believe these clouds are becoming more common due to climate change. More methane in the atmosphere reaches the mesosphere and creates water vapor at those extreme altitudes. These clouds remind us that the atmosphere extends far beyond what we see, that weather happens at the edge of space, that Earth's blanket of air is deeper, stranger, and more beautiful than we usually imagine. As the sun descends toward the horizon, every cloud becomes an artist's canvas. Low stratus clouds, which seemed dull and gray all day, suddenly glow orange from beneath. Cumulus clouds light up like embers. High cirrus becomes threads of gold and pink across a deepening blue sky. This is Rayleigh scattering, sunlight traveling through more atmosphere at sunset, filtering out blue light and leaving the warm colors. The clouds, still high enough to catch direct sunlight, reflect these colors back to us. For a few precious minutes, the sky is transformed. Layers of clouds at different altitudes catch different shades. The lowest might be purple, the middle layer orange, the highest still brilliant white. Photographers call this the golden hour, but it's more than that. It's a daily reminder that nothing is permanent, that beauty is fleeting, that the sky is always changing, always moving, always new. And then, The sun sets completely. The colors fade. The clouds disappear into darkness. At night, clouds don't disappear. They just become invisible to our eyes. But they're there, still moving, still evolving. If there's a moon, you might see their silhouettes drifting across its face. If there's lightning in the distance, they light up briefly, revealing their shapes. Clouds at night have a different character. They hold the day's warmth, radiating it back toward the ground. Cloudy nights are warmer than clear ones for this reason. The clouds act like a blanket, keeping heat from escaping to space. This is why farmers worry when the forecast calls for clear skies during early spring. No clouds means frost. Clouds mean protection. In cities, clouds at night glow orange from the light pollution below. In dark countryside, they're simply absence, dark patches against the stars. Meteorologists watch them on satellite, seeing them in infrared, heat signatures revealing their heights, their movements, their intentions. The atmosphere never rests. While you sleep, clouds are forming, growing, traveling, dissolving. The water cycle continues, endlessly patient, endlessly persistent. And now imagine tomorrow morning. The sun will rise again. The earth will warm again. Water will evaporate again. New clouds will form, maybe the same types, maybe different. Each day's weather is unique, even if the patterns repeat. Those cumulus clouds you watched yesterday have dissolved, their water returned to vapor. But that same water might be in tomorrow's cirrus, next week's stratus, next month's cumulonimbus. Water doesn't disappear, it just changes form, endlessly cycling between earth, air, and sky. Every cloud you've ever seen, every cloud you'll ever see, is part of this ancient dance. Water molecules that once fell as rain on dinosaurs, that filled ancient oceans, that were drunk by your ancestors, they're still here, still cycling, still creating beauty in the sky. So tomorrow, when you look up and see clouds drifting by, remember, you're watching a story that's been unfolding for 4 billion years. You're watching the atmosphere breathe. You're watching water return home temporarily to the sky. And that's worth pausing for. Good night. This is Sleepy Brain Science.